Exciting news, Russ. Just for the benefit of some of our listeners and viewers who might not know, your relationship with Adie Birrell goes back many, many years. He appointed you as assistant at franchise level, then you appointed him as your assistant, and you became South African coach. You go back a long way, and I'm assuming that his recommendation of you is confirmation that Hampshire were very happy with what they had, and that they want more of the same. So you've got a 2-year contract, and I guess you'll be able to contact Adie if necessary on his farm in the Eastern Cape for the next couple of years if you need to know anything.
How's it, Neil? Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me. Yep, look, I've known Adie since I've been about 14. So when I started working as a youth cricket coach at St. George's Park in 1996, Adie was the youth cricket manager and I was the youth cricket coach, and he was my boss. And then obviously he became the A-side coach. I became the B-side coach. He then went abroad, came back. He worked with me at the Warriors. Then he worked with me in South Africa. Then I worked with him at the Sunrisers. So we've had a long, long relationship. And look, he's one of the great coaches. He's an amazing cricket coach, but more importantly, he's an amazing human being. And we chat every day. I'm actually getting up to Johannesburg tomorrow to come do a little bit of work with some of my Lions players. So, yeah, we've got a long, long-standing relationship. And he's been one of my great mentors and a guy I respect highly because he's just a great bloke.
Russell, about what is about Hampshire? Because what do you know about Hampshire? They're not quite in a transition. James Vince obviously doesn't play 4-day cricket anymore. He's still playing around the white ball team. There's a few of the older guys getting on a little bit. They've got some exciting players. What do you know? And do you know much about the Hampshire players?
So, Steve, that's crazy because I actually feel like I've been coaching the team for 4 years because I've been chatting to Adie about it for the last 4 years because he's been there for 7 years. So I sort of know the ins and outs and the challenges and the positives and the James Vince doesn't play red ball cricket. And so it's a team that's been really competitive over the last couple of years. I think maybe 3-4 years ago, they were maybe one ball away from winning the county championship for the first time in 50 years. And Lancashire won it the next day because they had the opposition 9 down. So they've been thereabouts all the time, having won a T20, lost 2 white ball finals last year. But look, I mean, Hashim's played at Hampshire, Dale Stains's played at Hampshire. I've touched base with a lot of those guys. And they say, like in footballing terms, there's Man United, there's Liverpool, there's Chelsea, there's Arsenal, there's Man City. I suppose in county circuits, you're looking at Yorkshire, Lancashire, you're looking at Surrey, you're looking at, I suppose, who's the other one? Yorkshire, Warwickshire. And then you're looking at Hampshire as one of the big 5, I'm assuming, I suppose, with Nottinghamshire. So they're a county that's steeped in history. Some great players have played there. They've been there and thereabouts. Maybe have fallen off a little bit in red ball cricket. And I mean, they saw the personalities and the sort of atmosphere around that club sort of sits with me as a club that I think I can really fit into and sort of take forward over the next couple of years.
Lots of time in international cricket, and you've been coaching. You've had great success. Is county cricket the fulfilment of a long-held ambition, or did you ever see yourself coaching at county level? Did you want to?
Neil, I mean, you've done a lot of interviews with me when I was the national coach. When I think about it, I mean, I coached the AFCO when I was 35 or 36, which is like pretty young at 2012. And as you coach longer, I think county cricket, like all players, when they're playing at the highest level, international cricket, they all sort of want to finish off and play at some county. So as a coach, I think I've coached in the subcontinent now. I've coached in South Africa. They say you haven't really coached in the subcontinent. I think you also probably haven't coached until you've done a county gig because that's a hell of a roller coaster and a hell of a lot of cricket to be playing. I mean, we play in South Africa 7 domestic 4-day games in a year. We'll be playing 14 there. So as a coach, it's going to be a great challenge and a great learning experience for me and something as I think any coach would want to try and experience, having the experience of coaching a big county in English county cricket, because that's generally where it all happens, it seems.
You mentioned coach. I mean, we're talking about a different coach here, and that's a bus that you're going to sit on for quite a while. If you think you think county cricket is, 7 first-class games in South Africa and 14 in England, but it's not just the 14 in England. It's the white ball stuff. It's the T20 stuff. I mean, how are you prepared for that? Because I was 18 years at Durham, and we were miles away from everywhere. Hampshire's not in the middle of the country. It's going to be some long bus journeys. They can have their pros, but they can also have their cons, especially from a mentality point of view. If you're trying to blood young players as well.
Yeah, look at those. I suppose that's all the learnings I'm going to have to experience and come to terms with. Talking to Carl Abdi says, "Us, you're going to be getting home at 2:00 in the mornings after 6-7 hour bus journey straight after game. We're going to maybe have a T20 the next day. So make sure that you don't come in here all energized, because after 3 weeks you'll be blown. You've got to sort of pace yourself." We play 7 domestic games in every single format in South Africa. And I was just saying to somebody an hour or two ago that I sort of miss that sort of. We don't have crowds in our cricket in South Africa. There's nobody coming to watch domestic cricket. We can play a domestic game at Hampshire and maybe have 5,000-6,000 people at a 4-day game. We've got 10 in South Africa. A T20 game in South Africa between the Titans and the Lions, the two biggest teams, will maybe have 100 people. There are 20,000 people at the Oval. So I've sort of missed that sort of energy and intensity in coaching, that sort of pressure, because it is a little bit lower key in South Africa, based purely on the sort of interest that is around domestic cricket in South Africa, which is really sad because it's still a really good product.
Russell, you mentioned about having energy and coming in energy and everything that goes with it. It reminds me of the story. Remember the Doug Bollinger, the left arm seamer from Australia? We played first game of the season at Worcester. I'm told man as this many times before, and he had an abundance of energy after about 2 days of this game running. He ran from the boundary. He was like longer than Michael Holden, and you're going, I mean, he's not even factored in May and June, never mind September, when it comes to stuff like that. Your squad's going to be in a transition. Have you got overseas sorted? Have you identified? Have you heard about some good young players that's potentially going to have to give you some energy when you do go from a difficult red ball section into white ball section, then back into red ball section?
Obviously, I've actually got a meeting tomorrow with Giles White. He's actually in South Africa. He's coming to our domestic game, and then I'm going for dinner with him tomorrow night. So those are the sort of things we will be touching on. I know that there has been an Australian signed for the first 7 4-day games. I don't think it's my place to mention who that person is yet until it's officially over the line, but someone that I think could offer something with the bat and with the ball will be really important for us. And then there are some really good players. I mean, I've spoken in depth to Adie, the likes of Ben Brown. He's like really highly thought of. Albert, Tom Prest has sort of not had a great season last season, but he's highly thought of. There's young Turner, the fast bowler, was originally from Hilton College in South Africa. So there's a lot of good young potential there. Obviously, James Vince being a big loss in the red ball competitions, but obviously still one of the best white ball players in England. So look, it's a team that's sort of, I wouldn't say in transition, but they've probably got a few 27, 28-year-olds now. We've got to lose the tag of being young, promising players and take on the roles of what Liam Dawson and James Vince has done and become really hardened professionals and match winners for the county, because I think there's sort of a couple of players who are maybe averaging mid-30s, early 30s with a lot of potential at 27, 28, now need to sort of kick on into those higher 40 sort of averages in that sort of level.
At the Lions, where you are now, finishing off the summer, your batting and bowling coaches are Hashim Amla and Alan Donald. So Shane Berger and Jimmy Adams have got some, well, they've got some big shoes to fill. How did you select those two as your assistants at Hampshire? And do you think Hash might have been useful to the England team in Australia? Some batting advice.
I forget about batting advice. Maybe batting at the moment. Look, I think Jimmy Adams is. I mean, he's a sort of a legend at Hampshire. I think he's played over 200-300 games for Hampshire in the past. So it's great to have somebody there that knows the system, has been in the system, knows the ins and outs of the clubs, can be really handy in that. And then Shane Berger, I think is a really good appointment. He's going to be the bowling coach, but also going to be a bowling coach who works as a batting coach with the lower order, because he was the batting coach at Somerset. So I think two really good appointments they've made there by the Hampshire board. And I think they've both got great energy. I know Adie's worked a lot with Jimmy Adams and speaks really highly of him. I know Shane Berger from his time in South Africa, so just a really good bloke. And has coached Scotland, so has got some international coaching experience and has obviously done a great job with Somerset, having won the Blast last year. And then, yep, look, I think work ethic, great energy, honest, trustworthy guys are always guys you want to sort of have in your backroom staff. And by all accounts, those are two guys who tick all of those boxes. So really excited to work with them and learn as much as I can from them because they've been in the county system a little bit longer. And then regarding Hash and I've actually mentioned Hash this morning. I said, Hash, what were the things you focused on batting in England? I mean, batting in Australia against Australia. He said, Russ, I always made sure I was strong off my legs. I only looked to score on the leg side. I looked for a little back foot punch, but I never looked to drive the ball up through the covers unless it was under my eyes type of thing. So those are the sort of basics he tried to employ there. And it's not rocket science, but it's sort of what has served him really well. And those basics, I suppose, stay true for most countries when you're batting, I suppose.
And finally, Russ, will you stay at the Lions, or is the Hampshire job 12 months of the year?
No, I love my Lions. I've got an amazing boss here, an amazing group of players, and a great support staff. So it's been a great 3 years for me here thus far. So I'm going to split my time. I'm going to do 6 months in the UK and 6 months at the Lions, and then there's no 13 months in the season. But we play a little cricket here. I'll still do a stint with us with the SAT 20 side as well. So it's going to be a busy year, Neil, but we've just had so little cricket in South Africa. I'm really looking forward to having another busy year because we're crying out for more cricket, crying out for more games, a little bit more intensity in our cricket because it's just there's some great players in our country, but we're just playing in front of nobody at the moment. And that's really sad. So I'm going to be continuing with my Lions gig because it's been a really great honor and privilege working them, but really excited to get to Hampshire and give them 100% of my time for those 6 months a year as well.
Russ, give me all my best to the Lions. They looked after me brilliantly I only played 2 games.
You spent a bit of time in Poch, and I know you played 1 or 2 games for them, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I played 2 games. I wanted to play. I was supposed to be there for 4. Me and Otis Gibson went. I got injured in the middle of summer, and then we went to Sri Lanka. That was the problem. We were going to Sri Lanka, and I played 2 games. And Mosey said, you're going to have to come. And I'm like, I'm actually quite enjoying, even though, I mean, I've told Manners this millions of times. The first 2 games was supposed to be, I think we're supposed to play at Durban, the Natal Durban side at the Wanderers, and then the Cape Cobras at Newlands. And the week I got there, the Wanderers game was getting redone, so I ended up in Potchefstroom. And they shifted the Cape Cobras game to Paarl. So I mean, I was like, Mosey, no, I'm going to enjoy this. This is 4 games. I'll come just before the first test, and then I swapped Paarl for Candy, and I mean, it was unbelievable. But I loved it. They looked after me so well. Neil McKenzie is my hero, Jimmy Cook, and I've got nothing but great things to say about everybody in Joburg.
And we've got at full strength, yeah. I mean, we've got a seriously good side. I mean, like the likes of Frickleton and Mulder and Hamza and Teba Bavuma and like the list goes on and on. We've got a really powerhouse side when all available, which doesn't happen often, but a really good system that's been put in place here and been a successful team with a great CEO and great facilities. So it's probably the best domestic side to be working for in South Africa at the moment. So I'm very blessed and privileged in that aspect.